Nearly 20 years ago, Acura introduced the brand's very first compact luxury SUV to America called the RDX. Now, at the time, the RDX was very much leaning heavily on its sportier driving dynamics, especially if you guys were looking for a trick all-wheel drive system, as this was one of the first Acura vehicles to introduce the then new super handling all-wheel drive. Now, of course, the current generation RDX has been around since 2018, now in its third generation. And as you guys know, the compact luxury SUV segment is fierce with new competitors that are pretty much introduced almost every year. So to keep this model fresh, Acura is giving the RDX another refresh for 2025. And as you can see, this week we are spending some time with the fully loaded model. This is known as the RDX A-Spec with the advanced package. And the big question I will answer for those of you who are looking for a sportier, compact luxury SUV, has Acura made enough changes to their latest RDX to keep this model fresh? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the very minor exterior styling changes, as you can see, I've moved into my garage because it started raining while I was in the middle of filming this vehicle. Let's go ahead and pop the hood and remind you guys what's powering the latest RDX. Now, sadly, in America, Acura continues to only offer just one engine choice, and this is kind of where I was hoping the company would expand the engines and offer a Type S variant, but the only engine available is a pretty good one. It's the company's signature 2-liter turbocharged gasoline direct injection 4. Now, as you can see underneath the hood, you're gonna find a transverse mounted engine, and that's because the RDX was kind of the first Acura vehicle to introduce their premium SUV or premium light truck architecture, something that it now shares, of course, with the latest CR-V and the Honda Pilot, of course. This 2-liter gasoline direct injection turbocharged 4-cylinder is kind of a variation of the K20C1 engine, although I think they call it the K20C4 in this vehicle, and the power output figures are unchanged. It makes 272 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Those output figures were among the best in the class for standard engines, although now there are other competitors that offer more horsepower and more torque. It all goes out through the company's 10-speed automatic transmission. It's their in-house developed transmission. And about 2 years ago, Acura made their patented super handling all-wheel drive system as standard equipment, so there is no more front-wheel drive version of the RDX. Now, fuel economy is rated at 21 in the city and 26 on the highway. The A-Spec models reduced the MPG by about 1 compared to the non-A-Spec versions, courtesy of the 20-inch wheels. 22 is the combined figure with that 17-gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 340-ish miles of range on a full tank on premium gas. Now, Acura doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time. We got 5.7 seconds in one that we tested about 3 years ago, which is fine. A Type S version, again, would be a welcomed addition, but sadly, it still doesn't exist. Top speed for this model is around 112 miles an hour, and the RDX is rated to tow, although it's very low for this segment at around 1,500 pounds. Something like the Audi Q5 maxes out at 4,400 pounds, so that's something Acura needs to address. Now, curb weight figures are just over 4,000 pounds. This is technically the heaviest model, so the RDX is on the lighter side when you look at the rest of the compact luxury SUV space. Now, closing up the hood, let's go ahead and talk about the exterior styling of the 2025 RDX. Now, this generation has been out, like I said earlier, since 2018, so it is definitely starting to look a little bit old. You can see the front end does have some of their latest design cues. Now, first of all, this exterior color is new this year. It's called Urban Gray Pearl. We've seen this color on other Acura models. It's kind of like a warm gray that looks a little bit brownish when the sun hits it. You can see their diamond pentagon grille adopts the frameless design. The A-Spec model gets its gloss black appearance with more integrated diamonds in the actual grille texture. You have the big Acura logo there that houses the radar sensor for the Acura Watch 360 system, of course. You have their jewel eye full LED headlights, which have a chicane style daytime running light, LED turn signals, lots of individual LEDs for the low and high beams. You can see the front fascia has a slightly different look to the actual air intake openings on the A-Spec models. And if you guys go for the A-Spec models and up, you'll also get LED fog lights, which is something that a lot of competitors have been removing. The front splitter area you can see is gloss black. with some more functional openings, of course, no active grille shutters. But the frameless diamond pentagon, I think, definitely cleans up the look a little bit. Keep in mind, if you guys don't get the A-Spec, you'll have a unique front fascia with less aggressive designs and a full paint finish if you guys go for the advanced non-A-Spec trim. Now moving around the side profile, the RDX is on the bigger end of the compact SUV segment. It's almost like a midsize in its overall length with a 108.3-inch wheelbase. That's on the shorter end, but it has a 187.4-inch overall length. So again, this is a little bit larger than some of its competitors by as much as 6 inches even. So kind of keep that in mind. You do get more interior space with this car. The rest of the side profile I think looks pretty handsome. I like the black accents that you get with the A-Spec model. You also get a new wheel this year. These are unique to the A-Spec with the advanced package. They're a 20-inch diamond cut wheel. I apologize for how dirty it is a little bit, but you have a new finish, new design for the double 5 spokes. You have a 255 by 45 R20 Goodyear all-season tire. You have 12.2-inch rotors front and rear, all independent suspension. And I believe the RDX offers just under 8 inches of ground clearance. The advanced trims and ups get the adaptive dampers, so at least you do get that feature to adjust the ride quality at the push of a button. There's a subtle A-Spec badge here to let everybody know you have the sportier trim. The mirrors are black painted, power folding of course, and they have integrated turn signals and a full 360 camera. This is what gives the A-Spec or the advanced package, you know, a worthy option is that surround view camera. I like also the gloss black on the window trim. A panoramic glass roof is standard equipment on this car. You can't get that feature on the CR-V along with the 360 camera, so that's one of the reasons why Acura reserves it, of course, for the RDX. Now backing away from the vehicle, you can see the basic proportions again haven't really changed. The rear end design kind of introduced their dragon, I guess dragon tail-like, or dragon tail-light design, although it kind of has like a C-shaped lobster claw to me. The taillights have an LED combination. You can see the turn signals are incandescent. The reverse and the taillight and brake lights are LEDs, however. The spoiler is pretty subtle, along with the rear wiper that kind of sits on the back window, as you can see. Badging back here is plentiful as well. I would have preferred them to be blacked out, although I think the dealer will offer that as an accessory. And then you can see the exhaust system, big dual chrome exhaust tips, which I really appreciate Acura still doing. A lot of competitors are hiding that. The big change, or one of the updates to the rear, is that diffuser down there, that lower piece. The A-Spec Advance is the only trim where that's actually body colored. If you guys just go for a regular A-Spec, that lower piece right there will just be black. So again, subtle changes to let everybody know you have the top dog model. Now looking at the cargo area, you can see a power liftgate with hands-free is included, and the RDX has a pretty generous cargo holding compared to some rivals. Cubic feet storage here is just under 30, around 29 and a half, which again is a pretty good amount. You also have some very decent side storage here to the side, and if you open this up, very deep underfloor storage, which I think Acura says this is around an additional 2 cubic feet. If you guys want to include that, you can also lift up the storage, and there's even more storage back there, along with it looks like some kind of access to the jack over there. So there is a spare tire, which is very nice. I love how the floor is also completely flat. I also really appreciate that Acura includes handles back here to fold the seats down, because as you can see, you pull on that, the seats do fold down and creates an almost flat floor. And Acura says there's just under 60 cubic feet of storage space. 60 cubic feet is good. That is around 15 more versus the Lexus NX, this car's main rival. However, other competitors like the X3 or the Genesis GV70, I believe, offer similar amounts of cargo space, but overall, the Acura certainly has a lot more space than you might expect. Now moving on to the interior of this 2025 RDX. Before we get inside, let me remind you guys what the key fob looks like. As you can see, if you guys go for the advanced trims and up, you'll actually get remote start included on the fob. I like how this key fob is unique to Acura, although you can tell it's kind of a variation of a fob that Honda also uses. Lots of buttons here, of course, for your remote start, for your open, or for your lock, unlock, and your power tailgate, along with a panic feature. The key has a nice sturdy feel to it, and it also feels pretty high quality. I don't believe Acura offers a digital key at this time, which is something that a lot of competitors are starting to offer. Now, as you approach the door handle, you can see traditional pull style. Tap that little area there, that locks the door. That also will electrically fold in the mirrors. This car does offer an auto walk away lock feature, which is definitely nice. Some competitors like the Lexus NX don't offer that. Touch the back of the door handle, that will unlock the door. You can see the mirrors will also electrically fold out. Those power folding mirrors, by the way, are only on the advanced package. Now my test car has a really nice color combination with the urban gray with the red premium Milano leather seats. These are exclusive, of course, to the A-Spec with advanced package because they include, again, the higher quality seat material, or the higher quality leather material. I love the red with the contrast black piping and stitching, which looks nice. These seats adjust in 16 different ways, so that's again an upgrade versus the regular A-Spec, which I believe only offers 12-way power adjustments. So you can adjust the bolstering here, the thigh extender there, and of course the 4-way lumbar here. You have power controls right here, which I really appreciate how they're not like on the door or in the screen. These seats are also heated and ventilated. If you guys want ventilated seats, you have to at least go for the A-Spec trim. And you can see, looking at the door panel, there are some pretty decent materials, although not class leading. This upper portion is a soft touch injection molded plastic. You have some aluminum trim here and here for the door handles, 2-person memory with those 16-way seats on the driver's side. I like the suede, the ultra suede here on the door panels. And it's nice and padded leather here. The 16-speaker ELS Studio Surround audio system sounds incredible still, and you can see there's an ambient light accent in there. That's something that the Bang & Olufsen system in the new MDX does not have. So keep in mind, even though this is their older ELS Studio 3D, I actually think I prefer the way this looks with the metal speaker covers, and it sounds pretty much as good as the Bang & Olufsen, although I think the Bang & Olufsen and the MDX had a little bit more bass than what I noticed in this car. Down here you can see it is hard touch plastic, reminding you that it's their lower trimmed SUV. Nice storage over here. You can see the A-Spec model includes the stainless steel plate there, along with the alloy pedals, which makes it look pretty nice. Now getting inside, the RDX has a nice easy step-in height with around 8-ish inches of ground clearance. And as I shut the door has a really solid sounding thunk. And I also really like the Acura chime as you get in. It certainly adds to that level of quality, and it feels a little bit more special than your an ordinary Honda. Now starting the vehicle up, you can see start stop button is right here, hasn't moved. And you can see the gauges also are an old school combination of analog and digital. So as you can see, I was really expecting Acura to actually replace these gauges with a full digital system like in the MDX, but I actually kind of like the way these gauges look, if I'm being honest. They actually remind me of the Acura RSX from like 20 years ago with the red look. I like how it's a very traditional style for the gauges, with the tack that sweeps, of course, along with that helper screen in the center where you can kind of adjust the way this looks here by adjusting this little wheel or rotating this wheel. You can kind of customize that. You can put some different information there, which is pretty nice. The rest of the interior, you can see the advanced models include a heads-up display, which is nice. This upper portion is a soft touch injection molded plastic, but it also doesn't feel as high quality as I think it should. I like how the aluminum trim wraps around over there. It's also soft touch over here. As you can see, the ultra suede is right here, along with the leather that covers this area. The glove box door, you can see, is just a soft touch injection molded plastic. The steering wheel, as you can see, is the typical steering wheel we've seen on the A-Spec models, flat bottom design, some aluminum and piano black accented trim, paddles, which are plastic, unfortunately, behind the wheel, but you can see lots of controls here for your heated steering wheel. That's on the advanced package, and you can also control that, of course. The steering wheel itself offers a manual tilt and telescoping adjustment, so it's pretty easy to get a good, comfortable driving position in this car. And then, as you can see here, the infotainment display hasn't changed. Unfortunately, Acura has not adapted their touchscreen interface from the new MDX, so this is obviously too far to touch. You have to use their true touchpad interface here to interact with this. It has basic one-to-one positioning, so it doesn't work like a mouse pad, so you don't do like this, although if you do that, if you scroll like this, you can basically go to different pages, I guess. What you have to do is you have to touch the specific quadrant on the screen with the touchpad, so it actually will highlight where you want to select. When you do so, there's also a separate screen here where you can adjust the cards, or you can also pull up the 3 available cards as well. So it's relatively easy to interact with, but it just requires another, mental training to kind of get used to the one-to-one positioning. I really would have preferred Acura to just get rid of this, give us a touchscreen. I imagine they're going to do that for the next generation. That screen is only 10.2 inches. The MDX has a bigger 12.3-inch display. This does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and what they've basically done is they've expanded it to a full screen capability, which I'll show you guys how it looks during the driving scene because I'm using my phone to film this. It's not connected right now. Now you can see here, I like how Acura keeps traditional buttons. You have a volume knob here. Tuning buttons, however, I would have preferred just a knob here as opposed to the buttons. You have dual zone climate control. You have heated and cooled seats with an auto function, which is nice. Your drive mode selector is here. Acura is very much known for putting it right here where you think this might be a volume knob. There's 4 different drive modes: sport, normal, comfort, and snow. There's no individual setting. Other Acuras allow you to push that to go into an individual, and no sport plus setting. Again, this is not a Type S, even though this car begs for a Type S. There's lots of piano black here with some aluminum and some red leather here. I also appreciate the ambient lighting in this car. I also noticed Acura has made an adjustment here. The pre-refresh model, or pre-2025, from this angle, you actually saw like the ambient lighting kind of disappear because it was misaligned. That is no longer the case. They have different themes. I like the green color that kind of has like a nice little understated glow under the dash. The true touchpad interface here has a nice little palm rest, of course. Your gear selector is here. If I want to put the vehicle into reverse, you push this little button. You can see that brings up your full 360 camera, which has trajectory, distance markers, parking sensors, cross traffic alert, and braking. The quality, however, is not great. It also doesn't take up the whole screen, which is a little disappointing. This center console also has been redesigned. You can see the wireless phone charging pad used to be under here. You still have all that storage down here, however, but now they've repositioned it here, and it's large enough to fit my iPhone 16 Pro Max easily. The cup holders are also repositioned. They're a little bit larger, which is nice. This console lid is nice and padded with the contrast stitching, and when you open it up, they've actually made it larger. Before, it was almost like 30% smaller. So this is an improvement. You have you have a USB-A over there, and then you have a USB-C down here. If you look there, there's their USB-C outlet. Again, better storage there is always a plus. The seats, like I said earlier, are comfortable and supportive. 16-way adjustment. The leather feels really high quality. I sat in these seats all day long, didn't have any complaints in terms of comfort, which is nice. The glove compartment, you push that button, you can see it goes into the dash. It's damped but not lined with felt. It's a pretty decent size, and the visibility in here is also pretty good. So overall, the interior of the RDX still kind of lags behind some competitors in terms of just offering a touchscreen. The quality of the screen also could be better. At least it has wireless CarPlay. I would like to see a digital camera review mirror, but other than that, and a fully digital instrument cluster. But other than that, it's still a pretty nice place to spend time. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area of this car. And as you can see, the back seat offers a generous amount of space. Now, first of all, I showed you earlier, these seats do fold down. Sadly, they don't offer a recline function. That's something some competitors do offer. Back here, the door panel materials are the same soft touch injection molded plastic with the ultra suede padded over here. Still have the accented lighting behind the metal speaker covers, which is nice. And then Acura says you have around 38 inches of legroom back here. 38 inches is generous. That's more than what you're gonna find in most of the European, Japanese, and Korean rivals. So once you get back here, you can see this is the driving position for my 5'7" frame. As I get back here, you can see very nice flat floor, which is great. You have rear seat air vents along with heated rear seats, 3 levels, and 2 more USB-C charging ports. Those heated seats are only included in the back if you guys go for the advanced package. I would have liked to see retractable shades. I think the MDX has that. On the advanced model for the RDX, it would have been nice if they had that. And you can see here, there's an armrest that folds down, gives you 2 cup holders. And then in terms of the headroom space, I only have maybe a solid 2 inches at most, perhaps. So this does eat into your headroom space overall. But as you can see, if you guys are looking for a family-friendly back seat in the second row in a compact luxury SUV, the RDX is still among the best. So it's been about 3 years since I had a chance to spend a full week with the Acura RDX. This current 3rd generation is starting to get a little long in the tooth, surprisingly. I remember when I was at an auto show, I can't remember if it was Detroit or LA, when Acura first revealed the all-new 3rd generation RDX as kind of a return to their precision-crafted performance heritage. They switched back to a turbocharged engine. They introduced super handling all-wheel drive. Those are features that weren't on the 2nd generation RDX, which was very much kind of dumbed down to be more comfort-oriented. This car, ever since it's been out, has been the perfect blend almost of comfort and sportiness. So for 2025, there are very few changes to talk about in terms of the driving dynamics. We are driving an advanced model with the A-Spec Sport package, which also includes the adaptive dampers that you get with the advanced package. We're riding on a 20-inch wheel, 255 width tire. It still has a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder hooked up to a 10-speed auto, 272 horsepower. The last RDX that I tested on this same stretch did 0 to 60 in around 5.7 seconds. So let's go ahead and see what we can get this time. We have the car in its sport setting. The transmission is also in its sport setting. Let's go ahead and brake torque it and see what we can get. Nice sound and quick shifts from that 10-speed. All right, this time we got a 0 to 60 in 6.29, so 6.3 seconds. I'm actually surprised. The 2022 model that I tested 3 years ago was significantly faster, so I'm not entirely sure what happened. I'll try another run up ahead, and I won't brake torque it this time. We'll just floor it. I'm trying to figure out if brake torquing it actually made it worse, but regardless, that time is pretty acceptable. The Lexus NX 350 with the turbocharged 2.4 is going to be pretty similar in terms of the speed. The Genesis GV70, however, with its 2.5 turbo is quicker, as is a BMW X3. I can't remember the last 0 to 60 I got in the GLC 300 from Mercedes, the current gen, but let's try a run here. This time it's more slightly uphill though. A little turbo lag below 3,000. 6.7 seconds there. So again, that's with it more going slightly uphill. So I'm actually surprised. This car used to be faster. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if Acura made changes to the tuning of the engine, to the transmission, but it is not as fast as the one that I tested 3 years ago. But that's okay, because the low 6-second range is still pretty acceptable. We'll try another run up ahead again for consistency. But where the RDX continues to shine is in its handling dynamics. With, of course, their super handling all-wheel drive system, it can send up to 70% of the torque rearward, 100% side to side. The 10-speed also is a pretty willing and smooth partner. It is relatively responsive in terms of when you put your foot down, trying to get it to downshift out of its top gears. And the engine also makes a nice sound. Remember, this engine is kind of a variation of the 2-liter turbo in the Civic Type R. Of course, it makes a lot less power. There was a time where the RDX had the most power in the base, for a base engine in the class. Other competitors now have kind of stepped up their game, and this is where Acura really could use a Type S version. I mean, this car is begging for the 3-liter turbo V6 in the MDX and TLX Type S. I really wonder if it could fit, and that powertrain with 355 horsepower would probably shave at least a second off the 0 to 60 time, although the last one that I tested, an MDX, took 5.5 seconds. This is, remember, a lighter vehicle at 4,000, just over 4,000 pounds. It certainly is relatively, nimble and lightweight for this segment. Most of the competitors from Europe are typically a couple 100 pounds heavier than this car. Now remember, super handling all-wheel drive, so it can send more power to that outside wheel to kind of steer you around that turn there, which is kind of the defining characteristic of super handling all-wheel drive. You're really not going to notice it too much in day-to-day driving. Most people who buy this car won't do that. I just kind of do it for demonstration purposes, but what you get is just a very sure-footed feel, hooked up with a free revving and smooth, sweet-sounding engine with a quick shifting 10-speed. So the powertrain is good in this car. It was already near the top of the class back then, and it's still very good today. I'm going to try switching off the stability control. We're just going to floor it again. Shifts at around 6,300 RPM. All right, 6.4 seconds there. So our best time was 6.29. So a little disappointing, but not bad. Not bad at all. And basically it'll keep pace with a Lexus NX 350H or 350. The 350H hybrid, however, is going to be a little slower than this, but the hybrid gets significantly better gas mileage, so keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to switch the drive mode here from sport to its normal setting. And remember, this car has adaptive dampers, so the suspension gets a little softer. The transmission, I noticed, will shift quicker or sooner into its top gears. The engine gets a little quieter. I don't know if there's a sound enhancer in here, making the engine a little bit louder. But the one thing this car lacks is an individual mode, kind of showing the age of this car, where I could custom tailor the dampers, the suspension, the sound. So you don't get that in this car, unfortunately. But what you do get is steering that is relatively quick and accurate. Not much in terms of feedback, but it's really precise and fast reacting. So you get a sense that you're driving something much sportier than most of its competitors, which I really appreciate as an enthusiast. The seats also, these are the 16-way premium Milano seats, and they hold you in place nicely. You can actually adjust this bolster to hold you in place more, or you can also adjust it so it doesn't grip you so hard. Visibility out of the RDX is also good. I can see out of the front and the side quite easily. This A-pillar is a little thick. The view out of the back is great, however. The view, that window isn't too small. No digital camera rearview mirror is available with this car, unfortunately. Acura doesn't offer it on this car, but you do get their latest Acura watch, although it's technically not their latest. The MDX has a newer variation, but it does have active lane keep assist, adaptive cruise, traffic jam assist, all that stuff, blind spot monitoring, full 360 camera when you guys go for the advanced package as well. Those are features you can't even get on a CRV, as well as the panoramic sunroof. That new display there, as you can see, well, it's not technically not new, it's still 10.25 inches. That's the widescreen view with the CarPlay. If you want, you have to use the stupid touchpad here, because remember, it's not a touchscreen. If you click on that, it goes back to the standard view. That's how it was before, but most of you, I think, are gonna appreciate the ultra wide view where it takes up the entire screen. I think that makes that screen look less small, so that's an improvement there. But again, it's still not a touchscreen. I would have liked them to add a touchscreen like they did for the MDX, as opposed to the RDX, which uses their TTI True Touchpad interface. Now, in terms of fuel efficiency, this is where the RDX also lags behind its competitors. This model is rated at 21 in the city, 26 on the highway. It's one less versus the models with the 19-inch wheels, because the 20s reduce the fuel efficiency because of more drag. In my week's worth of testing, I averaged just under 20 mpg, and mostly mixed driving, spirited driving. Now, on the highway, I got around 24 mpg, which is not bad, but again, it's a far cry versus the hybrid NX 350h, which will easily do mid 30 mpgs without even trying. I haven't had a chance to fully test out the new BMW X3 xDrive 30. However, that model should also get near top of the class fuel efficiency for mild hybrids. Remember, this is not a hybrid or a mild hybrid. I'm expecting Acura to introduce a hybrid powertrain for the next generation. It desperately needs it. But if you're okay with a more conventional feel and you're okay with the, MPG of this model, which is a little bit on the thirstier side, it certainly is fine. A fine trade-off for the sportiness. On a full tank of fuel, this car was only showing around 300 miles of range. It should do around 370. I got around 300 miles, which is not great. Again, the fuel tank capacity is around 17 gallons. You're gonna be putting in fuel premium gas. It recommends premium gas for maximum performance. So overall, the ride quality is good. The interior is quiet. I didn't hear a single squeak and rattle in this car, which is impressive. Or it's expected, given it's an Acura Honda product. So overall, the RDX is still very comfortable, spacious. The tech in the car is, wireless CarPlay now, obviously, and the full screen looks nice, but I would have preferred them to make this a touchscreen. And I really am disappointed that Acura doesn't offer a Type S variant. It begs for a Type S, it begs for a hybrid model. But as long as you're okay with that, the RDX is certainly still worth a look, and it is less expensive versus most of its rivals. So with just under 43,000 units sold in America last year, the RDX was one of Acura's top-selling models. I mean, between this and the MDX, the two vehicles essentially trade positions every year in terms of bestseller status. So after spending a full week with the latest 2025 RDX, I'm pretty happy to report that if you guys are looking for a compact luxury SUV that skews on the sportier side, you're gonna really appreciate this car, especially if you guys really like a lot of Honda and Acura products. The feel of this car, for me at least, feels at home. The 2-liter turbocharged engine is smooth, free revving. It's hooked up to a really responsive 10-speed automatic transmission. It also sounds good. 0 to 60 performance, I am disappointed that it's slower versus the last one that I tested 3 years ago, a good deal slower, 6.3 versus 5.7. I'm not really sure what happened, but it's a half a second slower. Again, it's perfectly acceptable though, and it keeps pace with all of its other 2-liter turbocharged rivals that you're gonna find, especially if you guys are comparing it to the Lexus NX. The interior also has pretty good quality. The technology is starting to get a little bit dated, but I appreciate how there's now a full screen mode in the CarPlay setting. The true touchpad interface is kind of annoying to use, but it's something that you get used to with time. I'm looking forward to Acura introducing their next gen infotainment system, which I wouldn't be surprised to show up in this car. The back seat is also on the spacious side, which is good if you guys plan to use this as a family vehicle. Same thing, of course, with the cargo capacity. The exterior look of this car is still also pretty nice, although again, a Type S version would really make this car even more appealing. A hybrid version would make it more appealing. So we have no idea if Acura is going to do that for the next generation. I am anticipating a new version to show up potentially next year as a 2027 model year, so only time will tell, because this car, again, is one of the oldest vehicles in the Acura portfolio. Now, if you guys are looking to get your hands on this vehicle, Acura has kept the pricing on the lower end of the scale. However, when this car first came out, I remember you can get into like a base front-wheel drive model for like 37 grand. Today, that base model, which now comes with all-wheel drive as standard, starts at $44,300. So again, mid $40,000 is not bad, but keep in mind, it is going to be more expensive than the Lexus NX, although the NX's base engine is a 250, which has the motor from the previous generation Camry. I would skip that entirely. Basically, if you're looking at an NX Turbo or an NX Hybrid, the RDX is about $2,000 cheaper. Now, most of you are probably going to step it up to the technology package. That's going to cost you at least $47,000. That'll roll in features like the upgraded ELS sound system, the upgraded leather on the inside, and a couple of other niceties, including navigation as well. The A-Spec model is above the tech package. That'll start at around $50,000. That'll basically give you the sportier styling elements, the heated and cooled seats. I would recommend at least the A-Spec. The advanced package without the A-Spec is going to cost you around 52 grand. And then if you want everything, this model here, A-Spec plus advanced, it'll cost you at least 54 grand with the upcharge for the Urban Gray Pearl. And of course, the Destination, my test car here, comes to around 56,400 bucks. Now I remember 56 grand, that was a time where you could buy an MDX, although the MDX now starts at around $50,000. Most of them are going to be around 60 grand. So kind of keep that in mind. The RDX is a couple $1,000s cheaper than a comparably equipped Lexus NX and a Genesis GV70. That's with the 4-cylinder engine. The BMW and the Audi and the Mercedes are going to cost well into the low $60,000 range. So there is some value to be had with this car. I just wonder what Acura is going to do with the next gen model, because if they want to basically take a bigger chunk out of that sales pie, they really need to introduce a Type S. A hybrid model would certainly be much more appealing. So I imagine all of that is on the table, hopefully for the next generation. But until then, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the latest 2025 Acura RDX. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.